Job costing for contractors. General job costing advice is everywhere, but contractors have a unique cost structure that requires this to be fundamental to your business. Your jobs have slime that no accounting course is going to teach you how to track as a contractor. By the end of this video, you're going to know what makes job costing unique for contractors and how to build a system that actually fits the way that you work. One of the things when we started working with contractors, because there were other industries that we were working with as well, law firms and jewelry manufacturers and a variety of different things, is we found that the contractor space is a little peculiar. I'm not going to say it's different. In fact, we've got what we call a special snowflake rule that when we have a contractor go, well, we're different. We're like, well, you're not a special snowflake. Like, there's a lot of contractors, a lot of other businesses. It's not that construction's hard, it's that business is hard, right? And yet the construction space and the contractor space has some peculiarities that are unique. I'll give you one. Your cost of goods percentage in line with your contract value. Wow. If you're a luxury custom home builder, your average is between 78 and 82% cost of goods. That means for every dollar that comes in, about 80 cents of that dollar goes right back out. In fact, we can make the argument that you're less a contracting firm. The tools of your trade are not hammers and nails and 2x4s. The tools of your trade, you're more like accountants or calculators, calendars, and reports. And so to think like a healthy contractor is to think with a mind of job costing. So you're in the right place for this. And I want to encourage you, but let me show you the difference between the two. If I had a custom home builder and that custom home builder's annual revenue was $10 million, did you know that that's about the same size business as a $2 million architecture firm? So I've got a builder contractor running $10 million, but I've got an architect running $2. What's the difference? Well, the $10 million construction firm has 80% cost of goods, which means its gross margin's $2 million. An architecture firm has $2 million of revenue with fundamentally zero cost of goods, which means its annual revenue or gross margin is $2 million. It basically runs the entire business on that $2 million. And so it's interesting to see when we see a $10 million home building company, we're actually also looking at a $2 million architecture firm. If you want to know the difference, an easy way to tell is actually look at the number of W-2 employees. That's usually a better marker because you'll have about 8 employees at a $2 million architecture firm, so between 6 and 8, and you'll have between 6 and 8 full-time W-2 employees in about a $10 million custom home building firm. Now, some might have more than that. What does that mean? That means that they don't have a lot of margin, that they're running pretty lean on their net income. Some people have less than that. What does that mean? That means that they're running pretty fat on their margin, and they might have more money to be able to do some stuff. I'm just giving you some general ranges based on calculations that we do. But I want you to see the difference in why construction is a little bit peculiar is because so much of the money coming in goes right back out to vendors, subcontractors, and I'll show you where some of that is. So what is job costing for contractors? Well, let's break it down. You ready? Let's make it super simple. The first thing we need to understand is what is the contract value and where do we find that? From the estimate that we put out. That's why we want to have an estimating process that's in place, that's repetitive, predictable, and meaningful. If we don't have a healthy estimating process, then this number is going to go all over the place based on the whims and the whittles of whatever it is that we're doing. The second number we need to understand is this cost of goods sold. There are some elements that make up that number that I think are really helpful. And we call this the slime. And I'll make this really big, divided by this line that looks like an I to help us pronounce the word. But the slime is this: subcontractors and labor. So these are your people elements of your cost of goods. And then here are your non-people elements of your cost of goods: materials and equipment. And so when we look at subcontractors and labor, what we're seeing is subs are usually what they sound like: sub crews, outside 1099s that you bring in to perform different elements of your project. But you might look at the labor and go, what's the difference? Well, there are many contractors, particularly in the northern part of the United States, who still do a lot of self-performing labor. And so they'll hire carpenters as W-2s, but then they'll go on jobs as if they were subcontracted. And so many times what we want to do is you need to decide with your accountant, do you incorporate this labor, this W-2 labor, above the line in cost of goods or below the line and take them out in your expenses with your gross profit? All right, so let's go back to our job costing. Super simple. Contract value minus cost of goods sold. And what that's going to lead us with is what most people call gross profit. I don't really like that name because I think it's gross. No pun intended. Actually, it was. And then there's profit because that P makes you think that that's your money. That's how money works. It kind of messes with our head. I like to use a term that another guy uses called real revenue. So remember the 10 million and the 2 million? This is the real revenue. And $2 million of that $10 million contracting company is the real revenue as well. And so your contract value minus your cost of goods equals your gross profit, which we call your real revenue to run the business on. Out of that real revenue, you're going to pay your overhead. These are your payroll and your rent and all those fixed and sometimes variable expenses that get pulled out of the job. And then from there, we hope to have what we call our net income, or what many of you call your profit at the bottom. Now, this is EBITDA net income, which is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. You can talk to your accountant, your CPA about that. But fundamentally, this is job costing. Contract value minus cost of goods, which is made up of your subs, labor, material, and equipment. And then we show your gross profit, subtract out your overhead expenses to get your net income per job. And so when we can understand this on job number one, and we understand profitability, think about all the other details this gives us information for in the future of what we do. Do we take this job, not take this job? Do we hire this person, not hire this person? There's so many decisions that we are equipped to make just by knowing that one little detail of profitability or not profitability as it relates to the job within the compound of job costing. Now, we need to understand something, that job costing actually fits. If I drew something out called a master process roadmap, broken down into 4 categories: marketing, sales, operations, administration. Job costing fits within the administrative function, but I want you to understand it's just one process within that. There can be hundreds of processes on your master process roadmap. Job costing is just one of those processes. And so what I want to help you with is understand where job costing fits within the whole of your construction business. So if you'll click on the link in the description below, I've prepared a long-form training masterclass for you called How to Build the System of Your Construction Business. And it'll walk you through, as a contractor or construction business owner, to build the full-scale system, the 4 foundational cornerstones: purpose, people, process, and profit, the 4 core systems of every business: marketing, sales, ops, and admin, and then walk you through where a lot of this stuff fits, so you not only understand the micro element of job costing and how important it is, but you understand within the context of running a larger construction business. Why? It's because we want that business to run and grow with or without you. It's much more fun to run a business that can run without you. So you get to go to work because you want to and not because you have to. Wouldn't you love to be in that situation? Go make sure you click on that link in the description below, and I'll walk you through what a construction business like that would actually look like. Okay, so go back and look at this. If you want to be able to answer powerful questions for your business, then you need to begin job costing, and the job cost by job number 1, job number 2, job number 3, will position you to stop being in chaos so much on a Friday night around your kitchen table, and instead you can be liberated from that chaos to make time for the things that matter most.